Welcome back, everybody. It is Tuesday again, so it's another Tuesday theme stream. I am doing Dante's Peak versus Volcano today, and as you all know, as I do these, I go over which of these movies is better by comparing story, cast, writing, effects, acting, leads, and music. Now, before I get started, I want to say hello to the chat. Hi to Toodle Say. Thank you for stopping in. Conroy Veritas. Yeah, this is 90s Linda Hamilton. 80s Linda Hamilton is absolutely the most attractive. Vanya, good to see you. Craig, this movie was great and haunted me as a child. Dante's Peak. Yeah, it was definitely one that was like, holy shit, you know? Ruben Thomas, good to see you. Thank you all for stopping in. Now, if you want to support my channel and if you want to help my channel out, the best thing you could do is watch the playlists, check out my newest content when I get content out, that is. Yeah, poor grandma. Also, I will be on tonight on the Barroom Podcast. We will be going over some stuff on Jacob's channel tonight on Society Reviews. Other than that, let's get into it, shall we? So, starting with story, when it comes to, or to give you guys some background on it, let's actually pull up the cast for Dante's Peak. So we got the cast here for Dante's Peak, and that will be coming up in a second. But the story for Dante's Peak is that there is a volcano in a town that just had a stroke of good luck, and unfortunately is about to have a wicked life-ending stroke of bad luck, so to speak. Where a volcano is starting to wake up and is getting ready to erupt. However, the chances were figured by the U.S. Geological Survey that the chances of an eruption were extremely remote. But once their top man got there and started looking at things, well, yeah, he tried telling them, it's like, we've seen lulls like this before, but I think we should give it a day or two at the least, see what's going on. And we see a slow and measured pace for this movie that builds up to the, oh my God, now things are getting serious. Where Volcano is, you know from the beginning that this movie is about to have an event that is extremely bad because magma and tectonic shift is moving upward. There's a fissure that the tectonic shifts or the tectonic plates created by grinding together. And it was in the middle of Los Angeles on Wilshire. So, yeah. Where Tommy Lee Jones is part of the OEM, which is an emergency division that is allowed to take over if there is a disaster emergency in Los Angeles. And Tommy Lee Jones has his daughter with him when things start going to shit. The La Brea tar pits literally turn into a volcano because they eat, or because of the magma flowing upward. And it's like, oh my God, what the heck is going on, So, yeah, where I will say in terms of story, Dante's Peak is very common, where if you look at Volcano, that is actually something that is a lot more original, where a volcano just happens to be forming underneath a city. So that is actually quite interesting in itself, where it's like, holy crap. And then there's Dante's Peak, which is pretty much when you have a volcano story, obviously the volcano is going to erupt, you know? So it's, in a way, it's still compelling. Do not get me wrong. However, when it comes to originality, I actually give Volcano the point on this one. Let's see here. Trying to find something here. There we go. Hold on one second, folks. There. So, yeah. Also, hello to Neozoic. Um, I see you in the chat. Volcano is the only movie where James Bond and Sarah Connor meet up. Or correction, Dante's Peak. Yep. Dante's Peak is the movie where James Bond and Sarah Connor meet up. So yes, right now, as the score is Volcano 1, Dante's Peak zip, because the story is more original for Volcano. Now, moving on to cast. You got good cast in both movies. I mean, this is the cast for Dante's Peak right now. You got Pierce Brosnan, Linda Hamilton, Charles, and I recognize those three. Arabella Field, I recognize from 3 different movies. Everybody, or shit, he has been in almost every fucking movie of the 90s in some sort of capacity. Z-Ma has been in a few movies I am aware of. So Brian Reddy as well. And Peter Jason as well. So yeah, counting out the people that I know and from other movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So yeah, 7 people on Dante's Peak. Now let's look at Volcano's cast. You got people that I know a lot more on this one. Let's show more. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones, everybody knows Tommy Lee Jones. And Hayes, rip to her, because I heard her. It was a shame that she died over the last couple of years. 2, Eddie or Don Cheadle, Keith David, Johnny Carroll Lynch. Who else? Richard Schiff. I believe there are a couple others that I do know in this movie. Robert Wisdom. Yep. And let's see here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I also do believe I do know Jacqueline Kim. So 6. Richard Schiff. 7, 8 with Robert Wisdom. So while I know 8 people from Volcano, or when it comes to the cast, I know 8 people from Volcano and 7 from Dante's Peak. However, Volcano actually, yeah, Volcano is going to get this point because not just because I know of 8 different actors, I also know many of their movies. They've had a wider range of movies. Where Dante's Peak, yes, Linda Hamilton and Pierce Brosnan are very well known, as are maybe a couple others. I mean, Grant Heslov is also very well known throughout the 90s with Congo, Dante's Peak, True Lies, and so on. However, Volcano has movies that, or with actors that are still going strong today. Keith David is extremely, um, he has been through going through movies from the fucking 80s to now. Like, goddamn, man. How would I compare Pierce Brosnan's role in Dante's Peak with others such as James Bond films? This is Doubtfire, The Fourth Protocol, Percy Jackson. I thought he was okay in the Percy Jackson film. Black Adam, I thought he was pretty, or honestly, I thought that he was very good in Black Adam. A lot of people give Black Adam a lot of shit. I honestly thought it was a good movie. So yeah, and I thought that he did that role very well. I can't, I'm blanking on the character's name though. But yeah, Pierce Brosnan, he can be quite pompous at times. However, I think that the roles that he plays are very good. So yeah, he plays an asshole in Mrs. Doubtfire, but uh oh god, man. It's an asshole that you can't help but like, you know. So yes, Volcano takes point number 2 when it comes to cast. Uh let's see here. So number 3, nope, banners. Writing. Now, the writing in these movies, Dante's Peak specifically, has a much more put together writing. Because when you are writing a slower paced movie, you have to keep the audience interested in in the story. And in which I did give the story point to Volcano. That doesn't necessarily mean that Volcano is going to get the writing, because honestly, Volcano is a very rapid paced movie. Shit's going on, and then it keeps going on and on and on until the end of the movie. And it's a very fast paced movie. Where in Dante's Peak, you have to keep, or their writing is building interest in the characters, in the different characters, so that you are more invested in them. While Volcano has a better cast and a more original story, it has, or you care for everybody in the Volcano, because, well, it's a fast-paced story. People are getting killed and whatnot. However, you see that there is a lot more character development in the writing for Dante's Peak, where Dante's Peak, you care about the mayor, her kids, all of the people at the USGS who are involved, the team that Pierce Brosnan's a part of. You care about the people who are trying to get out of the town, out of the way when when the volcano starts to go up. You care about the grandmother, even though you kind of hate her, but you still care about her in a way. Where in Volcano, you care about Tommy Lee Jones' character and Haitia's character, and because they're the ones mostly in danger, or in most danger. And you also have very expendable characters like Johnny Lynch Carroll's character, where it sucks that he dies because he saved a person and then literally dies by jumping into lava and throwing the person, as he's melting, mind you, throws the person clear of the lava. And while he dies. I mean, that's one hell of a heroic move. But in terms of writing, I would actually have to give this to Dante's Peak, because Dante's Peak, it keeps you interested even with the slower pace. I mean, you have the fast paced beginning, a much more slower, even pace, and then kicking off as soon as as soon as things start getting worse and the volcano starts to wake up and erupt. Um, Neozoic asks the question, how would I compare Keith David's role in Volcano with his other roles such as Thing, They Live, Platoon, Armageddon, Pitch Black, uh, Cloud Atlas, and his voice roles that I can't list them all. Holy crap, yeah. Keith David in They Live was freaking peak, man. Do you prefer Keith David live acting or voice acting? Honestly, I think that he is good in both. He does wonderful in both, Neozog. But when he was in Armageddon, and or he plays or what he plays in that movie, the military guy, he's empathetic. However, he has to do his job. You love to hate him at the end of at the end when shit's going to pot, when they have to remote access the nuke and detonate it. But you honestly do understand that he does slightly feel bad about it, but he has to do it. He's under orders. In Pitch Black, playing Imam, and Chronicles of Riddick, dude plays a great character. In Volcano, he plays a cop who is trying to help out and stuff. And I love the ending scene where he's holding the kid and he's like, "What's your mama looks like?" Or "What does your mom look like?" And she's like, "Look," or the kid's like, "She looks like," and then the kid's looking around. He's like, "Look at their faces. They all look the same. Everybody's covered in soot or in ash because of the volcanic activity," which is a wonderful little thing from a little kid to say. It's like, or he's not exactly wrong. Everybody, black, white, everything else, they all look the same because they were all covered in ash. So he couldn't really identify his mother, even if she was ash covered. But yes, Keith David is an extremely talented actor. And honestly, I love, or if he's in the role, it's like, hey, dude, that dude's, or he does a good job with it, no matter how minor or major the role is. I think that he does a good job with it. And it sucks that they killed him and They Live. I would have preferred he lived. So, yes, the writing goes to Dante's Peak on this one. Moving on to effects. Now, folks, when you see a volcano erupting and you're dealing with a lava flow and whatnot, you got to make sure that stuff really stands up to what you're doing with it. The budget. I'm actually going to look up the budget for Dante's Peak and look up the budget for volcanoes or for Volcano, because honestly, 116 million for Dante's Peak. And it made, oh damn, it didn't make back all of its money, unfortunately. But it did break even on the video market. So Volcano budget. So the budget was 90 million for Volcano, and therefore they were limited with what they could do with it. I still gotta say, Dante's Peak used better or had better effects, but they also went more practical with their budget. All that you see that when it comes to the explosion or explosive eruptions, Dante's Peak's movie pretty much looks very real when it comes to lava flow, when it comes to practical effects, when it comes to even the digital effects. There's a couple of scenes that are a little bit choppy, just a little bit choppy. Volcano, with its $90 million budget, that lava flow that was pushing through the underground tunnels of LA, man, that looked good. That looked good. However, there are other scenes that you clearly see are blue screen, um, bad lighting. It has its problems. So when it comes to the effects, both practical and special effects, I would definitely say that Dante's Peak employs better special effects with a little bit more, or with a 26 million additional dollars to its budget. It actually put that 26 million dollars to better use. So the 116 million that went into Dante's Peak was very well done. And how, or as was Volcano, don't get me wrong, they had great effects in some areas. However, other areas of the effects were a little bit uh or were a lot more lacking. How would I compare Linda Hamilton's role in Dante's Peak with her other roles? Terminator 2 and yada yada. Terminator 1 and 2, King Kong Lives, Beauty and the Beast show, top stuff. Top stuff, or top acting. And honestly, I thought that she did a good job. As much as I hate the movie, she actually was pretty good in Terminator Dark Fate, considering the role that she was given as Sarah Connor, in which she hates Terminators. So, yeah, I thought that she did pretty good in Terminator Dark Fate, as bad as that movie was. So, yes, the effects go to Dante's Peak in this. So that makes Dante's Peak 2 and Volcano 2. Moving on to the next one. Banners. Acting. Folks, this is a tougher role, or this is a tougher category. And we are tied right now. Dante's Peak 2, Volcano Peak, or Volcano 2. The acting for Dante's Peak, you had a very good level bit of acting throughout that movie. And when it came to Anne Heche, Tommy Lee Jones, Keith David, and a few other characters, great acting. However, other actors were very much less experienced. And I think that it truly shows. Like I said, I mean, the cast, yes, Volcano gets cast, but the acting, uh you have little less quality acting in Volcano than in whatchamacallit. What are your thoughts on her role in Terminator Genius? Or I'm guessing you meant Genesis, Brian King. Linda Hamilton wasn't in Genesis. But acting definitely goes to, or you have good acting in both movies, but acting definitely goes to Dante's Peak, because you have characters that are kids, younger kids than the daughter in Volcano. That girl in Volcano wasn't really a fan of her acting. Her acting was kind of lower in quality than the two younger kids in Dante's Peak. Dante's Peak, you get or you really truly care for those kids. In Volcano, it's like, yeah, okay. Kind of like you're freezing all the time in fear situations. I mean, how is that or how would that girl ever survive growing up in any stage of adversity? When she freezes in any sort of dangerous situation, she just freezes right up. Where you have the kids in Dante's Peak who are actually do a more proactive action in going after their grandmother, however misguided that may be. Um, it's like, oh shit, you know? Uh how would I compare Anne Heche's role in Volcano with her other roles, such as Walking and Talking, The Juror, Donnie Brasco, I Know What You Did Last Summer? She was in that one? Huh. 6 Days, 7 Nights, Psycho remake. She was good in Psycho remake. She also was good as Lois Lane in Superman Doomsday because she played Lois Lane in that one with that or opposite Adam Baldwin. Um, I thought that she was excellent in this movie, Anne Heche. I haven't seen Donnie Briscoe, The Juror, Walking and Talking, or 6 Days, 7 Nights. I never really followed much of Anne Heche's career. However, I do believe that the things that I have seen her in, she did a wonderful job. She, in this movie, she is like, look, I'm not going to put up with your bullshit. This is what's going to happen. You gotta freaking, or you gotta listen. Otherwise, people are going to die. And she basically does tell him, it's like, look, you can either listen to me or you could die. It's that simple. And one of the things I do like about Volcano was Tommy Lee Jones. He's the main lead of the character or of the movie. And when you have a main lead character who is in over his head and where he has that moment of, I don't know what to do here. In this case, I don't know what to do. When he has that level of personal crisis, and also when he tells them, he's like, or I did such a terrible job at this. I put my own daughter in harm's way because this lava flow is coming straight for her and everybody else that I told them to go to this point or to Cedars Hospital, and fuck, this lava flow is heading straight for them. So yeah, I just put my own daughter in harm's way, and I don't know what to do now because there's no way to stop this from happening in the amount of time we have left, unless we do something incredibly improvisational, like knocking down a building that was being in development. So they actually managed to do that. But still, as much as there are poke through moments of acting in Volcano, yes, Dante's Peak does take the score. So Dante's Peak is in the lead with 3, Volcano 2. Moving on to the leads. You got a very strong lead and a slightly less stronger lead. Not enough to say weak, but you got a very powerful lead in one movie and in both movies, and then you have one that's slightly lesser. In Dante's Peak, one of the more powerful leads, or the more powerful lead, was Linda Hamilton. As much as Pierce Brosnan is the hero of the movie, honestly, I think that Linda Hamilton's role in that movie outshined Pierce Brosnan. He's very good in the movie, don't get me wrong. He is very good in that movie. However, Linda Hamilton outdid him a little bit more by essentially you could play an expert very well. How best to put this? You play an expert very well, but playing somebody who is or who is not the expert and who is reacting to all of this situation and whatnot, but also has to step up a little bit more beyond it. There is a there is something to be said there, you know? Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche, both extremely well played roles. Don Cheadle is a third lead, so to speak. There really isn't a third lead in Dante's Peak. I mean, maybe Hallahan could be considered a peak or a lead, and his acting was good as well. But honestly, the two leads in the movie, Lynn Hamilton and Pierce Brosnan versus Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche. Don Cheadle, or how would I compare Don Cheadle? Let me finish my thought and then I'll answer that one, Neozoic. Tommy Lee Jones, I haven't seen him play a bad role. I mean, I wasn't an extremely huge fan of his role as Two-Face in Batman Forever, but he still played it very well. He played it as directed. He does such a great job in other roles that he's played in. I mean, the man doesn't do bad roles. And he plays them, or he's the lead who's willing to listen to others outside of his field of expertise. But he's also a person that has to coordinate an entire city in order to survive. And so does Harry Dalton. However, both sequences cover slightly different circumstances where the town in Dante's Peak is right up next to the volcano, where the volcano comes up in the middle of the city in Volcano. So, yeah, as I said, there was that scene where Tommy Lee Jones doesn't know what to do. And he's like, I don't know what to do. And then he sees things and starts getting an idea and whatnot. And that helps get him out there. Where then there's Harry Dalton's character, or Harry Dalton, which is Pierce Brosnan's character. He just has an idea of what to do in any or in all the situations, you know? And having that sort of character conflict with yourself is, well, I would say that's a little bit better. But Anne Heche's acting, where she's understanding this is the 90s, not everybody is going to listen to a woman all the time. But in this case, she basically stood up to the guys who were giving her shit and essentially told them, you either can listen to me or you're going to die. That's a very powerful acting there. So when I say that there's top-notch acting and then slightly less than top-notch acting, Anne Heche is the slightly less, but still very much powerful acting. So when it comes to the leads, it is very hard to make a decision on this one, because both were very well done. However, I am going to give it slightly more to Volcano. Tommy Lee Jones did a marvelous job in that movie. So let's answer some of these questions. How would I compare Don Cheadle to with his role in, or other roles in Volcano and MCU films, Boogie Nights? Honestly, I haven't seen Don Cheadle in a lot, but when I seen him in Volcano and the MCU films, honestly, He's good with comedy. He's not good with seriousness. Honestly, I'm not a fan of Don Cheadle. I'm really not a fan of Don Cheadle. I mean, there was that, or he did those stretch of NFL commercials a few years back, and I thought that they were good. And he plays good roadie and whatnot, but honestly, not that big of a fan of Don Cheadle. Volcano was the only movie where you got Two-Face, Spawn, and War Machine in the same movie together. Spawn? Michael Jai White wasn't in Volcano. So who exactly are you talking about when you're mentioning Spawn? Honestly, I don't know. I was actually surprised at how good Dante's Peak was. Keith David voiced Spawn. Okay, so all right, that works. Yes, I do. Oh yeah, you're talking about an animated. Okay, yeah. So yes, right now, yes, leads goes to Volcano. Moving on to the next, and we're taught this one's neck and neck, folks. This one is neck and neck. Moving on to music and score. When it comes to the music of Volcano, you got good or a nice timid score. You got a good score that flows unevenly, however. It's nice in some areas, but it's also very much you're not paying attention to it. When you are doing a movie, score can either enhance it or deaden it, or not affect it much, or affect it a little bit. The score in Volcano only affected the movie a little bit because when they had the cul-de-sac of dividers that helped keep the lava at bay and pool up, and they dropped all the water on it, you had that nice little flow of good music and whatnot. When it came to Dante's Peak, between these two movies, I remember Dante's Peak score a lot more than I remember Volcano's score, because Volcano's score was very uneven. You only had that one flow or that one crescendo that I thought was pretty good. Where in Dante's Peak, that score is ever present, moves throughout the movie, and lends emotional value to the events happening in the movie. So when that volcano's going up and you see what's going on, it's like, oh my God, man. And then you see or have the score going, or the score in the background, and you're picking up on that as well. It further enhances what you are seeing because you understand the extreme danger of what is going on. So in music and score, yeah. Definitely Dante's Peak in this one. Both of these movies are disaster movies. Both of these movies I do not think did very well in the box office. And both of them were released in 1997. However, Dante's Peak is slightly more superior, while Volcano is more original. The movie is bogged down by the effects and the very clearly or very obvious blue screen areas and whatnot, where Dante's Peak makes heavy use of practical effects, especially when you do the pyroclastic cloud sequence, where they're trying to outrun the pyroclastus from from the volcano. And let me tell you something, folks, that was scary. It's like, oh my God, man, I cannot imagine what it would be like, because as soon as that hits you, you're cooked, literally. So yeah, Dante's Peak wins in this, or when it comes to the differences between, or which movie is better. While you do have a more original movie in uh, Tommy Lee Jones's Volcano, where the end has Mount Wilshire as a new or as a new volcano, and you have Dante's Peak, which doesn't even exist in real life. They actually used Mount St. Helens for it. The winner is indeed Dante's Peak. It has its writing is a little bit better, or its writing was better. The score is better. Honestly, it's a movie that I can watch a lot more often than Volcano. Don't get me wrong. I think both movies are good and they have extremely talented actors and whatnot. It's just that Dante's Peak is the winner. And I think that, objectively speaking, Dante's Peak is also a much better film. So that is indeed the end of this stream. Thank you to all who participated: Neozoic, Vanya, Brian King, who else? Craig, Ruben, and Conroy, and Toodlesay. Thank you all for joining in, and anybody else who has been watching and listening. Yep, Dante's Peak is indeed the winner. And stay tuned for tonight. I will be on the Barroom Podcast with Society Reviews on his channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. We're going to be talking about some insanity in Hollywood, Star Wars, WWE, and other stuff. Also, I'm going to be on in Odin's chat to mod his chat for his normal Tuesday night stream at 7:15, 7:30-ish. I will also be doing a special singles on the 31st with Mara on my channel at 8 p.m. next Wednesday. That will be Face Off. Also, stay tuned whether or not I will be going live for Orange Hat Uncensored Friday night is all up to what goes on that night outside of my life on YouTube. So thank you to everybody who was in the chat. Neozoic, Vanya, Brian, Toodlesay, Craig, Ruben, Conroy. Y'all are freaking awesome and amazing people. Thank you so much for tuning in. I got to get going because I got to take care of some stuff today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for next week, as it's going to be a toss-up between Braveheart and Gladiator. Two movies that are not the same year. So, yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all are freaking awesome. Have a wonderful day, and always remember to stay humble.